Hello everyone, my name is Jinjos and welcome to my playthrough of Arkham Horror LCG. We will be playing through the third and final scenario in the Night of the Zealot campaign, the Devourer below. If you haven't watched part 1 or 2, The Gathering and the Midnight Masks, I suggest you go and watch those videos first. We will be continuing our playthrough using Wendy and Daisy as our investigators, with Wendy being our lead investigator. Before we jump into the game, we have some experience to spend. Wendy ended last game with 5 experience to spend. We decided to swap our copy of burglary and pickpocketing for a close call and a will to survive. Daisy ended last round with 7 experience. We swapped out a copy of scrying and medical text for a disc of Itzamna and a cryptic research. We will be playing on the standard difficulty when it comes to using the chaos bag, but we will be using the hard/expert side when it comes to the effects of the special tokens. We will also be adding 1 Elder Thing token to the bag. If we draw a skull, it will count as a -3. If we fail, we have to search for a monster enemy card and put it into play. If we draw a cultist token, it will count as a -4, and we will place 2 doom on the nearest enemy. If we draw a tombstone, it will count as a -5, and we will take 1 damage and 1 horror if there is a monster at our location. And if we draw an Elder Thing, it will count as a -7, and if the Ancient One is in play, we will have to reveal another token. From interrogating members of the conspiracy within Arkham, you have learned that they are performing a rite of vengeance in response to the destruction of one of their master's lairs. You have entered the woods outside of Arkham to try and stop them. The woods seem unnaturally cold and filled with a deadly silence. The evidence you've gathered has led you to the woods south of Arkham, where you believe a ritual to summon a being called Umerdoth is about to take place. Stealing your resolve, you set forth deeper into the woods, hoping to find the site of this ritual. We enter Arkham Woods with both investigators starting on the main path. Wendy's starting hand contains a lucky, 2 copies of baseball bat, manual dexterity, and a Wendy's amulet. We mulligan a copy of the baseball bat and the manual dexterity to draw a pickpocketing and a guts. Daisy's opening hand contains an encyclopedia, Unexpected Courage, Emergency Cash, Research Librarian, and Dr. Milan Christopher. We decided to keep this hand, but looking back, I should have mulliganed the Research Librarian as I won't be able to play it with the Doctor at the same time. According to the setup rule, since there are 3 cultists who got away in the last scenario, we must start the game with 2 doom on the agenda. We each gain 5 resources, and the game begins. We're going to have Daisy start us out by spending 4 and putting Dr. Milan Christopher into play. We then decide to move north and discover the Quiet Glade. For our final action, we use our emergency cash to gain 3 resources. Wendy starts her turn by spending 2 and putting Wendy's amulet into play, and spending another 2 to play the baseball bat. For our final action, we move east and discover the Twisting Path, and placing 2 clues on the location. Moving to upkeep, Wendy draws a cat burglary and Daisy draws a medical text. We each gain a resource and place a doom on the agenda. Wendy then draws a Wizard of the Order, which we are going to place in the south location. Daisy then draws an Ancient Evils, which will place a doom on the agenda, advancing it. Throughout the woods, a shrieking cry echoes. From somewhere deeper in the woods, a score of hideous voices answer the call, inhuman as the bane of hounds, and yet articulate, repeating a singular name, Umerdoth, Umerdoth, Umerdoth. The chanting builds in intensity, echoing into the cold air of the night. The sparse clouds in the sky coalesce above the Arkham Woods, blotting out the faint light of the stars. Each enemy will now get +1 to fight and +1 to evade. We then shuffle the encounter deck and discard cards until we reveal a ravenous ghoul, which will spawn on the main path, and a doom will be placed on it, and since it is the end of the Mythos phase, a doom will be placed on the Wizard of the Order. Wendy starts her turn by looking for a boost to get us out of the Twisted Woods, and we draw a flashlight. We attempt to leave the Twisted Path and commit our copy of Flashlight to the test, going 4 to 3. We draw a +1, moving on to the main path. Using our baseball bat, we fight the ravenous ghoul, going 3 to 3. We draw an Elder Sign, leading to an automatic success due to us having Wendy's amulet in play, and dealing 2 damage to the ghoul. Daisy starts her turn by paying 2 and putting the encyclopedia into play. Using our tome free action, we exhaust it, bumping our strength from 2 to 4. We move down to the main path and then fight the ravenous ghoul, committing our copy of Unexpected Courage to the test, going 6 to 3. We draw an Elder Sign, leading to dealing the final damage to the ravenous ghoul and discarding the doom attached to him. Moving to upkeep, Wendy draws an elusive, and Daisy draws a deduction. We each gain a resource, and we place a doom on the agenda. Wendy then draws an Ancient Evils, placing a doom on the agenda. Daisy then draws a goat spawn, which will be placed on the main path. It is not going well so far. We're going to have Daisy start us out by exhausting her encyclopedia, boosting Wendy's power from 1 to 3, and triggering an attack of opportunity, and taking 1 damage. We then move to the Twisting Path, triggering another attack of opportunity, taking a 2nd damage. While this may feel a bit reckless, I do have access to the Quiet Glade, and also a medical text in my hand, so I feel like it's a worthy risk. We then investigate, committing a deduction to the test, and going 7 to 3, drawing a 0, and gaining 2 clues and 1 resource from the Doctor. Wendy then activates her baseball bat, going to 5-4. We draw an instant fail, so we use her investigator's ability to redraw by discarding a copy of Lucky. We redraw 0, leading to 2 damage being dealt. We activate the baseball bat again to fight the goat, going 5-4 and drawing a skull. Not wanting to lose our baseball bat, we discard our pickpocketing to redraw a -1, leading to a success and the goat spawn being discarded. We then take 1 horror from the goat spawn's forced ability. For our final action, we decide to move south. We reveal the Tangled Thicket and place 2 clues on location. While this is going to trigger an attack from the Wizard of the Order, I feel like taking a damage here will be worth it, so that way I don't have to spend an action next turn to move. Moving to upkeep, Wendy draws the second copy of Elusive, and Daisy draws a Manual Dexterity. They will both gain a resource, and a doom will be placed on the agenda, causing it to advance. A dark presence approaches, and you are assaulted by invisible pressures that bring you back to your knees. A terrible force threatens to invade your mind and soul. Your throat clenches and your eyes water as the sensation burns through you. Both investigators will test their willpower. Wendy commits the guts to the test, going 6-6. We draw a -1. We decide to use the topmost skill card in our discard pile, a Lucky, by paying 1 and passing the test. We draw an Unexpected Courage, and Lucky will be placed at the bottom of our player deck. Daisy goes into the test, going 3-6, drawing a 0, failing the test. We then have to place a Random Madness weakness into her hand. She draws a Paranoia, causing her to discard all her resources. Vengeance awaits. The world begins to shift and change as the ritual nears its conclusion. The air grows chilly, and the entire forest is covered in a layer of rime. The trees bend unnaturally, and their shadows lengthen into weird shapes. We will then place the ritual site into play, and spawning Umerdoth there. Wendy then draws an Ancient Evil again, which will place a doom on the agenda. Daisy then draws an Umerdoth's Wrath. We test our willpower, going 3-5, and we draw an Elder Thing. Not only does this count as a -7, but we need to reveal another token as the Ancient One is in play. And we draw a -4. Definitely the worst bad beat ever, meaning that we will be discarding 3 cards and taking 13 damage and 13 horror, killing Daisy Walker. We place her 2 clues on our location, cards in play are discarded, and she is removed from the game. We then place a doom on the wizard. Feeling a lot of pressure, Wendy starts the turn by investigating, triggering an attack of opportunity from the wizard, dealing 1 damage, and then committing an Unexpected Courage to the test, going 3-2, and we draw a -1 and gain a clue. We then pay 2 to play Elusive to move to the main path. We then move to the last unknown location, revealing the old home, and placing 2 clues on it. For our final action, we gain a resource in order to play our cat burglary next turn. Umerdoth will then move to the main path, and we move to upkeep. Wendy draws a close call. Wendy gains a resource, and a doom is placed on the agenda. Wendy then draws a ghoul minion, spawning at the old home. Wendy then starts her turn by fighting the ghoul minion. Using her baseball bat, going 3-2, we draw a tombstone. We discard our copy of Evade to redraw a -1, succeeding and discarding the ghoul minion. Wendy then pays 4 to play cat burglar. Umerdoth will then move to the old house and attack, dealing 3 damage and 3 horror. Wendy will draw an Abandon Alone, dealing 2 horror, and exiling our discard card. This is not going well at all. We then get a resource and a doom is placed on the agenda. Wendy then draws an Acolyte, spawning at the home and placing a doom on the board. Feeling the doom creep in, and all hope lost, we resign from the scenario, fleeing from the woods, leaving Arkham to its grisly fate. Too frightened to face her fate, Lita flees into the night. She realizes that she has failed, and Umerdoth's vengeance will pursue her wherever she goes. The creature's tendrils spread throughout the city of Arkham, searching for her. It lurks in the darkness of every corner, tugging at the seams of reality. But Lita is nowhere to be found, so the creature dwells in the shadows to this day, searching, killing. What a rough way to end the campaign. I knew that going into this campaign with 2 investigators who don't have a strong knack for combat was going to be super rough, but it was a great experience, and I'm so glad that you got to watch along as I traversed the dangers of Arkham Horror. Plans going forward, we'll be playing through the game in publication order, using the cards we gained along the way as if it was coming out for the first time. We will revisit these campaigns with a return series, and that is when we will have access to all the cards that are currently out at the time of recording. Thank you all for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and as always, have a wonderful day.